Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Matthew Meredith, to the show today. Matt is the founder of Meridian Legal Advisors, a next-generation law firm that blends estate planning, tax strategy, and asset protection under one roof. With more than 15 years of experience, Matt brings together legal, tax, and investment expertise to create plans that actually work in the real world, not just on paper. Before launching Meridian, Matt ran his own firm and handled everything from estate planning to probate and trust administration. He also held leadership positions at J.P. Morgan Securities and Capital One Investing, and today he continues to manage client investments through LPL Financial. His mission is simple: offer families, business owners, and professionals a true one-stop shop that protects assets, reduces taxes, and preserves wealth for the long term. I'm excited to have you here, Matt. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here, man.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit about your leadership journey.
Definitely. My wife jokes that because I'm a Capricorn, I came out directing people. But I think I kind of just fell into it. I've always have had goals. I'm a goal setter. And when you set goals, you know, where am I going? And so when people come in, it's, hey, maybe we can work together and go forward. And after I started moving up in the career, I wanted to do other things. I had done financial advising, financial planning for many years. And in 2018, I said, you know what? I don't like the way everything is. I want to add more for the client. And with that, it began a journey. Hey, let's go to law school. And so in law school, I added estate planning, heavy on tax, business, law, things like that. But when I came out, I had a problem because I had an deep understanding of the financial side, but I also understood the legal side now. And so it was very attractive for companies. So I'd go interview with a company and they'd say, hey, we love you. We want you on board at this firm, but you can't do your brokerage business anymore. I said, that doesn't really work for me because I have this dream of the one-stop shop. And so I'd go see the brokerage side and it's, man, you've got all this experience. You're perfect for our clients. We love you to come on board, but you can't be a lawyer. Which part I said, look, I've got a pretty big bill in law. I'm going to be a lawyer. And so ultimately it came down to, I have my goal, I have my dream, and it looks like I'm going to have to build it out myself. And with that, it became along the lines of, how do I do it? How do I lead this going forward so that I can bring people on and not really direct, but share my goal, my vision of it, and have them assist me. And so leadership, I've always been that independent role. As an advisor, we're off to our own late. Nobody bothers us. And I've had that drive to move forward. And I've learned in leadership, it's so much easier to move forward, everybody together than just me at a time. And so I had a mentor when I was at Capital One Investing that always stressed a good leader takes everybody with them. And so that has been my journey going forward is I had no choice but to become my own leader because nobody else would let me do what I wanted to do.
That's interesting. That's an amazing vision, though, to put everything together, all the disciplines, and so you can take care of a client in one fell swoop. So they come and you see the big picture, you see the whole picture as opposed to one section of it.
Absolutely. This is what started it was I would sit in the office. I'd have a client on the investment side and he would ask tax questions or he'd ask legal questions that were simple. I could easily answer them. And I'd have the company come back and say, hey, we can't give legal advice. We can't give tax advice. you're not an attorney. And it was the ultimate, the client's failing here. We're failing the client because this is what happens. I send the client over to the CPA. The CPA comes up with something. The client comes like, hey, I need an attorney. I send him over to an attorney. Then the CPA and the attorney start arguing over, no, we need S-corp election. We need this type of business. And it became more of a beating of the chest competition of egos as well as fees. And I said, this isn't right, because the client would come back and be like, thanks a lot, man. This has been terrible. And I said, the industry must change. Things have got to change because we deserve to provide a better service to the client. And it was my ultimate, I call it my hold my Topo Chico moment, when they said, hey, you're not a lawyer here, hold my Topo Chico, I'll be back. And so now forming Meridian, it is a one-stop shop. We don't do the investment management. We do the financial planning. The goal is to, over the next year, find a way to bring the investment management into as an affiliation so that we can service it all. But in this case, for most of the people we're meeting with, it's really, you're getting analyzed from a CPA, an attorney, a certified financial planner practitioner. You're being analyzed on the business side. All of these things are happening all at once. And most people, if you ask them, have you ever sat down with all your team at one time? I've met two people, and it's because they go to a family office and they have good money and everybody's staffed there. And that's, in my vision was, this is wrong. We need to analyze as one structure where everything works together. The CPA who I have coffee with in the morning says, hey, this is what we're doing, go build it out. And so that has been the purpose of Meridian, was let's bring it all together into that one-stop shop.
I love that. I can see the scenario you were talking about when everybody lives in a silo and they're, of course, in different offices. And you only get part of the story, where now you know the hopes and the dreams, the plans, the ideas, and all of those things, and can build solutions around the entire picture from that, whether it being a business owner or a family or that sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's such a better deal for the client when he knows that, hey, your estate plan aligns with your business plan, your tax strategy is going to save you money, and then your finances, this is the projections, this is the planning we're doing. And they walk away saying, okay, this is fantastic. But even better, it's twice a year you meet. If it's in person, I'll bring you a kolache. And it becomes this amazing, like, all right, there's no going to 4 different people, spending all your time. I'm a business owner. You're a business owner. I don't have time to go to 4 different people to make sure I'm in check. I need somebody that can do it right then and there for me. And that's the goal. But it's also, if there's a problem, it's one guy you call. That's it. And they call a lot saying, hey, just making sure. Or, hey, how does this align? And it's, in my opinion, they love it because it's unified.
And I can imagine, I totally can imagine having one person that helps you with, or one office that helps you with this. What does a fully integrated plan actually look like in practice? And instead of having 3 or 4 different places you go to get all of this, what would that look like for me?
So let's take the average person that comes in. What we like to do first is let's analyze everything. Most people have never had everything analyzed by the same people. So we're looking at, do you have an estate plan? How old is it? Do you have a business? Is it updated? Are you current? Has it gone in default status? Or are we protecting your assets the way they need to be? A lot of people are still confused with asset protection, thinking it's only for the ultra wealthy, but it's not. I talk to people all the time, doctors, especially doctors and professionals. They have huge brokerage accounts in their own personal name. And they think, oh, I have a business, it's an LLC, I run my practice. If I get sued, take care of it. But we all know what piercing the corporate veil is. Attorneys love to go for that. So let's protect you in case that LLC fails, in case that umbrella policy fails, so that your assets are also protected. And then let's look at your taxes. There is such a big difference between accounting and tax strategy. Accounting is, let's look in the past, let's see what's happened, versus tax strategy. How are we going to make things happen for you so that we can reduce taxes? And because we're an attorney, we can do other things. I always talk about the limits I had as a financial advisor because I couldn't give tax strategy. And I didn't want you taking the money out of the brokerage account to go do other investments. Well, I can do both. I can hold you money. And then if I find, let's say we want to do a short-term rent, we want to do an oil and gas syndications, we can do those through the law office, where now instead of just having a hammer where everything's a nail, we have a whole tool shed of tools that allows us to do strategies that most people can't even talk about. And that is for the client. The journey really comes in, and let's start from the basics. What happens if something goes wrong for you? If you die, are your kids going to get you? I'm in Texas. Texas is community property. Most people don't realize if you don't have your estate plan set up, your spouse doesn't get everything. Half of it goes to your descendants or heirs, and it becomes problematic for the spouse. And so let's fix that. And then let's move on to protection. And then let's move on to tax. And it really gives the client from head to toe a financial analysis, as well as the legal analysis, as well as the tax analysis. So they know after that first initial meeting, hey, this is what you need. We don't have to build it all right now, but now you have a plan, you have a map, and we can start working on this going forward for you and creating these strategies, creating these documents, creating these businesses to protect you.
I love that, a full picture. When you're advising on the business, okay, assuming their financial accounts are under their personal name and not business, do you help with E&O or business insurance or
So
advise on that?
I don't typically help with that because I don't vend it. I don't sell it. But I will say, hey, I believe that you
You should
may
have
want
that.
to look into an umbrella policy, because here's the thing outside of business. What happens in those hidden risks that I like to talk about if you do get in a car accident? What happens if your insurance goes over that? What happens if, God forbid, multiple people die? Do you think your umbrella policy is going to be big enough to protect you at this point? Let's take a look at this. On your business side, I have E&O insurance. I have 3 firms that require it. So I have to have it. I pay a lot for it, and it's part of the business. But the problem becomes for especially professionals who are high risk, neurosurgeons, doctors, lawyers, it's not
True.
always enough. It's definitely not always enough. And so you have to protect yourself by removing these things from your name in that instance, but still maintain it, still use it as a first function. We don't ever want to test our structures, because we don't want somebody to be able to pierce the veil because somebody did something wrong, and then we're going over to the personal side. So for a lot of people, it's, hey, get yourself an umbrella policy and let's really review how risky your business is and look at this E&O.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the future of finance. So you've worked in big institutions like JP Morgan, Capital One. How has the financial world changed since then, and where do you see it heading?
So my first entry into the financial world and my background story was I moved to Houston. I was going to U of H for a advertising degree, finishing up. And I had this roommate who was ex-New York Wall Street broker, still doing private equity type deals. And he was always on his phone, in his boxers, and he was making a ton of money. And so I'm
Okay.
going to school, I'm working. I come home one day and he's just sitting there relaxing. I'm like, this was back in the 90s when the word dude was cool. It's like, dude, what do you do? Teach me this stuff. And so he said, do you have any money? I said, well, I have some student loan money. He said, perfect, let's go spend your student loan money. And that got me into trading. And from there, about 2 years later, the same guy came around. I had gone and worked for another company doing some marketing and things like that. He came back and he said, hey, we're starting a firm. Do you want to come over and get licensed? It may turn into nothing, but you'll have a Series 7, you'll have all this stuff, and you can do whatever you want with them. I said, yes, absolutely. So I went and got licensed, moved out to Boca Raton, Florida about a year and a half later, was doing equities trading, and we were market makers. Somebody came in, FINRA comes in and says, you need another Series 24. And so me being the youngest, 27, they just looked at me and said, go get the 24, Matt, you're in charge. And so I had to go get the 24, and then I was in charge of these older retired traders who were still running their business. And that was the industry back then. It was heavy trading, brokers on the phone, calling people up. Hey, I got a stock for you. Let's get into it. And then all of a sudden Lehman falls and the market goes into heavy recession and the whole industry changed. There was no more proprietary trading. There still existed today in limitation, but it became, all right, I have to move out of this. What's the next big thing? And that's when I went into financial advising. And I was very good at it because I understood the market. I understood how things moved. I understood how to talk to people because I sat around all these older traders all day, hearing how they would talk to the clients. And so financial advising has changed so much over the last 15 years that you've seen it go more from what would be the advisor really coming out, picking things for you, individual commissionable trades, things like that, to more of your managed stock portfolio where, hey, I'm going to select something for you based off of the market or based off of your risk tolerance. And it's going to be a continuing revenue. You're going to continue to pay 1%, however much it was back then. And it goes on forever. And so you started seeing a lot more movement, I feel, into the industry because these companies were making good money off of recurring revenue. And so it really started coming along where people were coming in, they were pulling people from sales. And today I look at the industry and it's very much like it has been. The products and the placement has changed a little bit. But my issue with it, as I see it, is like we mentioned, it's only one piece of the story.
Right.
And if you're not adding these other parts, you're not really doing anything but managing one piece. And that needs to be fixed. And that, I feel, is where the industry is going. It wasn't just, hey, I'm bored, I'm going to go to law school. It was, this is the industry, it's moving. Just like I saw Lehman's go down, the recession come, okay, trading's going, I'm moving. And so moving along with it, you're going to start seeing more of this type of one-stop shop setup because it's what the client wants. And as most people know, we don't dictate industry. The client and customer dictates industry. And if the customer wants it, I'm going to change the industry because that's where I'm going.
I love that. So you do see that the separation of lawyer, CPA, and financial advisor is going to be fading over time because that's just what people are wanting.
I think it's starting to now. You're seeing a lot of firms trying to bring people in that can do these type of things. And ultimately, it's been like this for the ultra wealthy for years. These guys don't have time to go see 5 different people. It's, I'm paying you, bring in the lawyer, bring in the CPA. They might be different people, but at least they're meeting together and doing it as one.
I love that. It just seems so smart to put it all together and have the same conversation, the one conversation, so everybody gets the data. Really very interesting. So when you talk about entrepreneurs or families, what is the biggest misunderstanding you see around asset protection?
I mentioned it before, is I'm not a multimillionaire. I don't need to protect my assets, or I set up the structured confidence is one, overconfidence is one that I see all the time. And I've got an LLC and I've got umbrella policy. Another thing I see all the time as a problem is, especially with professionals, is they set up an LLC 20 years ago and they've never updated, or they haven't filed their annual compliance, Texas franchise fees, and now they're defunct. They've been defunct for years. And they don't even know it. So now you've got a problem of it coming back into you. Asset protection to me is board. Doesn't matter how much I'm protecting. I'm not going to let somebody come in and take it. So I'm going to protect. It may be a small amount at this point, but I'm going to grow. For people who do real estate, just as huge on real estate investors, it's, don't put all your eggs into one LLC, the one basket or deal. Let's spread them out. At least in Texas, you can do series LLCs, things like that. But let's separate each property. Let's separate operations sets so that if there is a suit against you and it doesn't involve itself, they're not able to attest to anything but an operating company that doesn't have that much money in it. And so with asset protection, I think it's becoming more and more popular because we're seeing so many of these type of lawsuits. If you get in a wreck now, even after the insurance takes care of it, they'll still come after you personally. I see that all the time. And my wife is from Guanajuato, Mexico, so we spend a lot of time in Mexico. And when I'm in Mexico, it's such a different atmosphere. I got bit by a dog one time, and sorry, who am I going to sue? I'm not going to sue him. Sitting at Chedraui watching people cross the street, and somebody got clipped by a car. And the guy just gets out, pats them off, dirts them off, and they go in there. I'm just blown away by this. I'm sitting here saying, oh my God, I've never heard 75 lawsuits by me.
Yeah.
Different. The US, we have so much of a litigious society that you have to always be on guard. You have to always protect. And it doesn't cost what it used to protect yourself. It's fairly simple to do it. And so it becomes everybody should do it. If you've worked hard for something, protect it.
I love that. And talk about the piercing of the corporate veil. What's your opinion of putting your car in your company name?
I see it for more tax purposes than I do for other things. It is possible. People change their cars from time to time, so it becomes a little more of a hassle. I'm not against putting anything in the company, but I like to avoid risky situations. I may put the car into a different company so that if there is a problem with it, hey, it can be limited to certain things. But a lot of people will put things. I see people put their boats all the time, certain things that have a little risk to it. I want to separate it from me. And that's ultimately what we're doing. But for a lot of people, it's also a tax situation where, hey, I'm going to deduct these payments and utilize tax strategy when I'm trying to run for my business.
So we're talking a little bit about not necessarily ultra wealthy, but what simple legal financial moves would make a big difference in protecting a small business or a family's wealth? Just the everyday person.
It all starts with the estate plan.
Okay.
Protect your wealth from there. Build out an estate plan. Make sure your children are going to get what you've worked so hard for if something happens to you. Make sure your spouse is protected in that format. I really like using trust. I think trusts are important. Again, it's not 10 years ago. You're not paying tens of thousands of dollars for trust. But again, a trust won't protect you. A trust is just as I like to call it, a collector of assets. And so when you build out your businesses, your trust ultimately owns it. And so part of this is I'm dealing with a probate issue where the gentleman died and we had to go to probate. We couldn't do anything with his business until after we got letters issued. So as a person who has built a business, if something happens to you and your business isn't owned by a trust or you don't have succession planning involved, your business could be shut down. We see all the time that the spouse inherits a business. She can't do much for it. So she sells it for pennies on the dollar just to get rid of it. On the asset protection side, it really becomes, what are you doing? What is it that is the risk here? Let's separate it from you individually and pull it apart. I don't see them often because I think most people have learned not to do it, but sole proprietor is one of the things that makes me squeal. No, we're going to have to do this. I know somebody who has 17 properties in her own name. Oh,
Wow.
and I freak out every time we talk about it. And it becomes, finally, she's starting to say, yeah, maybe we need to do something about it. But a lot of people think, oh, this is so much work. And that's the point of Meridian. It's not work. You come over, we even Zoom. Nobody actually walks into an office anymore. We Zoom now.
Yeah, really.
And we talk. Yeah, exactly. And we talk about it and then we go off and do it. My background was always service. It was service in the financial industries and then it became service in the legal industries. Now it's both. And I'm the type that tell me the problem, sign this paper, I'll be back. And then I come back like Arnold showing up with a whole bunch of stuff and say, here it is. Let's talk about it. And so it's become a lot easier for people now that there's no excuse for us not to be protecting these type of things, not to be making sure your life is established that if something happens to you, your family's protected. Protection goes into so many ways, even on the tax side. Why are you giving away so much money? You're putting all this money into your brokerage account. What about buying real assets and taking depreciation deductions, doing things like that? And so it really, on the grand scale, it's when you have just one thing that you put all your money into, it becomes much riskier. When you start spreading it out and protect it properly, that's when asset protection really kicks in, because you may get me on this. Nothing I can do about that, but you're not getting these other things.
Interesting. I love that. Now, I do know that a lot of people think that, okay, I did my estate planning. It's done. Never have to look at it again. What is your opinion? How often should you revisit your plan? I know this is probably a question that comes up a lot.
Look, I have a very robust estate plan, and I look at it all the time. I think the worst part is I'm a notary, but I can't notarize my own signature. So the worst part is if I'm going to update something, I got to go to either the FedEx store, UPS store, or my goal is to find other notaries who, hey, we're going to swap notary services with each other so that I'm
Exactly.
not spending the money for. I think when things change, that's when you start looking at this estate plan. We are fluid creatures. We're constantly changing. We're constantly evolving. If you're or creating a business, buying a business, you want to assign that business into your trust. It doesn't mean you have to recreate your trust, but you need to move things into it. We see it all the time. People create their trust. They don't move the product into it, the house or whatever it is. And then they end up in probate spending way more than what they paid for the trust. And so it's spot checking. You don't have to change things. You don't have to spend a ton of money to have a review of your situation. And I think that's more important. Don't worry about changing it unless you have to, but at least spot check it. Once a year is fine. Some people once every 2 years. There's always those things like if you have a child, update your will. Most wills come with anybody else that any other children we would have, they'll be covered. But I think people like to update things. They like to keep them current. This is
Especially
my
on life
life.
events. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. This is my life. I want my child's name on my will. I want him to know that I cared enough to go and update the will for it. And again, it's not the old days where I'd have to retype a whole will. There's software now. We update the software with the new information and it comes out cleanly and you're just paying for a little bit of the attorney's time versus buying a whole new package.
I love that. Okay. You make it sound absolutely simple and just, I love one-stop shop. That just makes so much sense. So if I can wave a magic wand and solve any problem in your business right now, what would that problem be?
So business is interesting because I've always been the guy who liked to sit in the back and do the work. You know very well, you have an image, you have a brand. If we want to reach people, we have to get out there. And so we have to sit in front of our camera. We have to practice saying, hi, I'm Matt Meredith from Meridian Legal. I'm a certified financial planning practitioner and an attorney. And you have to, worse off, you have to make sure, hey, are my eyes moving too much? Because this is a long script and there's no way I'm memorizing it. So branding has been the harder part for me. And I've reached out to people saying, hey, come help me create the image, help me create these short reels, help me create podcasts, get me out there. And it has been the hardest change for me because you're coming from the back up to the front and becoming the image. And it's not difficult. You follow instructions. You have smart people who are telling you, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. But I think internally, it's getting over that fear, getting over the concern of what will people think of me? And then you launch something. So we officially launched the business on social media 2 weeks ago. I posted my first video, little short video this week. And I was terrified about it. And I had my wife sit down with me and let's make sure nothing looks stupid or my eyes going crazy. What's happening? And she said, it's good. Stop worrying and just post it. And I did. And I had an amazing reaction to it. And it felt great. And so now it's, let's go make another video. I'm going to go outside this time. I'm going to go walking this time. I'm going to get my message out. And that I feel is the hardest part for any business owner. In this day and age, we can't go on one of the 4 channels anymore and put an ad. People don't like going to locations anymore. So even a storefront doesn't even really bring you much. You have to get out there and you have to reach people. And getting over that fear and learning what your brand is, learning what you're doing and being able to say it is the hardest part for me. The work is easy. I can do asset protection, create an estate plan and analyze taxes while watching TV if I need to. No, I don't do that. And that's because that's what I'm comfortable with. But getting out and saying, look, there is a better way and hoping it's received well has really been the struggle for me.
And I think too, it's like you find things that you don't enjoy doing and you outsource that, or you hire somebody to do that. There's things I don't enjoy doing in my business, so I have team members do that. And exactly. But being afraid of that first posts that you put out there, when you finally realize there's really not a lot of people paying attention to it, and the ones that reply, they are usually your friends, and they're going to pump you up about it.
The
But
poor people that watched it loved it.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Yes, more
well,
of that, please.
and I'm a firm believer as a business owner that before I can hire somebody to do it, I need to know what it is. And so a lot of the things I do, I go out and I learn myself. I learn how long it takes me to do it. So now I know how much work it is. I know how hard it is to first figure out posting social media, to get on Canva and create thumbnails and things like that. But you learn it and you become
Yeah.
good at it. And then you can go directly and tell somebody, this is what I want. This is how long it takes me to do it. Can you do it faster? Can you do it better so that I can now focus on bringing more clients into the office and servicing them the way they need to be properly serviced while you do this?
Yeah.
And that to me it also makes it easier because if I don't understand the role, how can I lead somebody? So I need to know what it takes to build out these systems on the CRM. I need to learn what it takes to do all these type of things so that the image is clear, the brand is clear, and it's following my vision.
I agree. You should understand it. You may not necessarily need to know Adobe After Effects or any of
Correct.
those tech things, but to understand it, I think it helps you make a better decision and have a better conversation with your team. Just like you understand all the pieces of your one-stop shop, and Meridian can help with all these things. So I know that this has been great information and so much value. I know my listeners will want to reach out to you and connect you. Where would be the best place for that?
Well, of course, we have web presence. meridianlg.com is where you can find us. I am on LinkedIn. Meridian is also on LinkedIn. We have Facebook page. We have Instagram. All of them are Meridian Legal Advisors. Search for that. I'm even on TikTok, Marilyn. I'm with the young kids being hip and cool.
All right. Are you doing fancy dances?
Not yet. Maybe we'll work on that one for the next step. YouTube, of course, we plan to post all the videos that I'm doing. Try to do videos that first off explain why we're different, what it is we do, how things are. And then, of course, I love those value-added videos that, hey, here's some tips. And so
Yeah.
those are the shorter reels, but we plan to start loading the website up more and more. I've got several podcasts I've been on. They're featured on the website as well. And check us out often because I love to update it. My wife helps me with it. So she works, of course, but on the weekends, I'm like, hey, come back to the company.
Make it a family project.
Exactly. That's how it's built.
We'll make sure that the links are in the show notes and anyone can reach out to you. Matt, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure and I've learned a lot. So I hope our listeners did as well and they'll reach out to you for help.
Excellent. That would be wonderful. And Marilyn, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.